So you've got to make sure you're leveraging every possible square foot that you have to provide a service that you can charge for and bring in revenue. This is totally backwards, and it's just because we're doing things the way we've always done them. We haven't choreographed it. We're going to have 400 kids in one gym practicing at one time between all the different programs that we have. There are going to be 2 and sometimes 3 teams per spring floor or per dead mat that we are utilizing. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Biz Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cotton, and today we are in the new studio. I still may paint the wall behind me, but we are up and running. There's still a few things I want to tweak. I want to make sure are exactly right. I'm still playing with the layout. Right now, it looks a lot like the old studio looked. And I kind of want to change things up, but I'm not sure. So you may see a bunch of changes, a bunch of adjustments. I may shoot at different angles and do a bunch of different things, but I am really, really excited to be in the new studio as well as in my new building. And I'm actually in my building. So I saw a number of you over the course of the summer. I just left our conference in Dallas, and so many people were like, how is the new gym? And my response was, I haven't really been in it. And the fact of the matter is I've been on the road. I've been traveling doing camps. I've been traveling doing choreography. And so I have not really been in my facility. So I'm super excited to be here now. I'm really excited to have had a couple practices, have seen the facility. And I want to talk to you about how to manage your expectations, how you should go about looking at your own facility as you are analyzing what are the things to prioritize doing and what are the things that maybe are a little bit of a distraction. Now, before we get into the episode, please make sure you're in Cheer Gym Owners on Facebook and you are in All-Star Cheer Coaches and Owners, and you're in both of those groups. If you are a gym owner and you are looking to grow your business, I've got to ask you to check out our Cheer Biz Accelerators. This is something new that we have just debuted where we are going to be opening the doors of our businesses to allow 10 gym owners to come to our locations and do 2 days of learning on site at our buildings, see how we operate, see how things work in our gyms, and then focus on how you can take those little nuggets and impact your own business and take them home. So really, really excited to be offering this, to be debuting this as a product with NextGen. We have a lot of really cool things going on, and I am super pumped about them. Now, let's get into the episode. So as I mentioned, I am in a new facility. We've talked about this before, right? And I said I would never do it again. And I did a whole episode on that. But now that I'm back in the gym, there are some really interesting lessons learned. And I actually called Tori last night and I was like, why are we in a bigger space and it feels more claustrophobic? I felt like, the gym was just overly full. It led to some conversations about the space and how we basically had transplanted exactly what we were doing at our old gym and just moved it over here into the new space without a lot of focus and emphasis on rotations of floors and how the floors are going to be laid out and all of those other really, really important things that we had spent hours and hours dialing in and choreographing in our old facility. And so now that, the, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful has worn off just a little bit, and we're looking at the facility from a critical perspective, I have a lot more opinions about what needs to be adjusted and some things to do. So if you are getting ready to move into a new gym, or if you're just in your gym and you're trying to figure out how to leverage your space better, or you're getting ready to move into a new facility, I've got some really important nuggets for you that I'm already using in my new space to help maximize our usage of the flooring, our usage of the space, and our overall profitability in the building. Number one is you have to spend the time to choreograph your day within your gym. This means understanding how to best leverage the equipment and the space that you have. So For instance, our all-star teams are very much used to when you come to practice for your scheduled practice times, you get a full 9-panel floor. That's how it worked at our old facility. We had 2 different 9-panel floors. And when teams would show up, they would either take what we called the middle floor or the main floor or the far floor. And they would go and they would occupy that space. And that's where they would practice for the rest of the evening. Our classes were on kind of 4 panels of 42 foot. So it was 4 by 42, 4 panels by 42 feet. That was 24 by 42. And they would practice there. Then there was a little bit of a dead floor area for stunting and another dead floor area that could do a little bit of class stuff, had some ninja equipment on it. And then we had our tumbling apparatus. And our tumbling apparatus was 2 tumble tracks, a spring strip, and a rod floor. Now, our new facility does not have the spring strip anymore on our tumbling apparatus. And our tumbling apparatus is just a little bit shorter. So our rod floor used to be a full 42 feet, and now it is 32 feet. We had to cut off 10 feet of it for our new space, which was a whole nother thing. And I'll talk through kind of how to leverage your space better or things that you can do to utilize different pieces of equipment a little bit better. But you have to choreograph your space. So for us, we were like, okay, this class would start here, and then it would go to the apparatus, and then the next class would be starting on that practice area and those kind of different things. But you also have to look very critically at what each floor is actually needed for. So for instance, I mentioned our all-star teams are very much used to, I get a full floor. Well, yesterday when I came into the gym and I was like, man, it feels claustrophobic over here, we were doing things already because that's just kind of how we had done them. So one of the things is the way our new space is laid out is it's kind of a U shape. So we have a dead floor mat area, which we've been using for our stunt classes. And our stunt classes are in heaven. It is triple the size of what they used to have. There's mats and equipment. It's all over there. No one's walking in and out of their sessions, where before they were kind of in a weird little corner that was totally big enough for a stunt session, but they're loving it. It's great. They're tucked off. They can do whatever. Parents love it because we have a set of windows to just watch those classes. So it's actually probably everyone's favorite part of the new facility. Next to that, as we come on to kind of like the other portion of the U shape, is our tumbling apparatus. And it's 2 tumble tracks side by side and our rod floor. And then after that is kind of our little tumbling class area. It's fairly small. It's kind of a weird little square, and it's big enough to host a back handspring class or a back walkover class, a smaller class of 8 to 10 kids you can fit within that space, but not much more than that. And then we have our 2 main floors, which are 9-panel floors with a strip in between. And then we have a 7-panel spring floor that is not a full 42 feet. It's actually about 40 foot long as opposed to the 42 foot, just because of the dimensions of the building. So we have those different areas built out. And when I walked in, there was a high school tumbling class with about 30 kids in it. And half of the kids were on the tumble track. And then actually not even half, probably a third of the kids were on the tumble track apparatus working on more advanced skills. And then the rest of the kids were actually kind of around the wall at this U shape. Imagine the U has a weird little hitch on the bottom of it too. They were there. So the instructor working in that area couldn't see over to the tumble track area. And in between those two things, we had a very small back walkover class of about 2 kids at the moment because it's summertime and kids weren't there. There's like 7 kids registered, but only 2 kids showed up because it's summer. And then we had our novice team practicing on a full 9-panel floor. This is a mini novice team, and it has a registration of 10 kiddos. So it's a very small team. Actually, it might be 12, but 10 were there yesterday. So we have this mini team practicing on a 9-panel floor while this group of 30 kids is spread out between our apparatus and our 7-panel, but they're not really able to function together. And then we have this walkover class in the middle. And then we had another team practicing our junior 2, which has 15 kids on it. And they were on a full 9-panel. So I'm looking at this going, this is totally backwards. And it's just because we're doing things the way we've always done them. We haven't choreographed it. So realistically, should our mini novice be on that full 9-panel floor? Absolutely not. Our mini novice should have been either on the 7-panel or sharing space with the junior team on the other 9-panel. They're both small enough teams and they were only working on stunting. They absolutely could have been sharing space, but we hadn't choreographed that. And when you don't, then people fall back into their old habits. After looking at it, I was like, this is completely backwards. And The lesson learned is we need to spend the time looking at our schedule and better leveraging the space that we have, because we do have more space. And that was part of the whole conversation. I was like, how do we have a bigger gym, but it feels more claustrophobic right now? And we're not doing any more classes than we normally would do at this time. And it was that we just were not utilizing the space correctly. So if you are currently in your gym wondering, how do you fit more time? You need to look very critically at how you already orchestrate your practices and your classes. Many times gyms think that they're at capacity when really they are not, because they are not fully utilizing the space, i.e. an all-star team, even my medium all-girl team with 30 kids or my medium co-ed team, we don't need the full floor. We want the full floor. It's really nice as a coach to not have to share it with anyone, but there is at least an hour of every practice that could be shared with a class or another team where we could be stunting back to back. How do I know this? Because that's the only way I'm able to execute things at dream camps. We're about to start our Oregon camps in another week. And when we do, we're going to have 400 kids in one gym practicing at one time between all the different programs that we have. There are going to be 2 and sometimes 3 teams per spring floor or per dead mat that we are utilizing. So there is absolutely no reason that teams can't share space. We just don't want to share space. Now, do you need dedicated time where you can run full outs and run routines? Yeah, absolutely. But again, this can be planned for and this can be choreographed. So take the time to really dive into what your schedule in your gym looks like and how you can choreograph your facility use and leverage the space even better. So many times I've talked to gym owners who are like, yeah, we're fully waitlisted for all of our classes and we just can't add any more and our revenue is stagnant. And I'm like, raise your prices. And they're like, I don't want to. And I'm like, then you got to add more classes to bring in more revenue. And they're like, we can't. And I'm like, we got to do one of them. So we got to find that way that you can better utilize your space, because we are always a time and space supply constrained business. That's always going to be something we have to deal with, because we're limited to very finite hours after school gets out to train athletes and finite space within our building. So you've got to make sure you're leveraging every possible square foot that you have to provide a service that you can charge for and bring in revenue. My number 2 thing is, holy moly, gyms are really hard work. And I have so many different projects on my list of things I need to build or I need to fix or I need to adjust because they didn't install perfectly into the new facility. So when I got back from my travels, people were like, hey, this is wobbly. Okay, I got to fix that. Hey, the rod floor, it's too short. I got to fix that. Hey, this thing that you envisioned doesn't quite work right. Okay, well, now I got to figure out a way around that. So you've got to always be analyzing how you've built things and how you can potentially modify without destroying yourself. But what is it that you can do to better leverage your space? So for instance, my rod floor, one of my tasks is I'm going to be building a runway. It's going to be a modular piece that when athletes are tumbling can be moved out and connected to the rod floor section. So it can be lifted over and set in, and then they'll gain another 5 feet of runway to run on. And it won't feel as short as it does because they don't need to tumble back there. They just need to start their steps so they feel like they have enough space to generate the power to go do their round of handspring double or whatever is the skill that they're working on. So building in those runways, finding those ways to do modular things that allow you to still, because if I were to just build that out and make it permanent, then that would make my rental floor space, that dead floor area, have this really random plank in the middle of it for a section, and that would make it semi non-usable. So find those ways to better utilize your space. Look with a critical eye. Like, if you ever get the opportunity, just take a day to come in and go, okay, if I could change this, if I didn't have any rules, how would I make this different? And start from that standpoint, because you'd be surprised the amount of things that you might adjust or tweak within your gym. My number 3 point is figure out the things that actually do matter. One of the problems that we have right now is we have too many mats. Now, I know you're like, whoa, Dan, you said you have too many mats. And I absolutely mean it. We have too many mats, and we don't have anywhere to put them, and they're getting very much in the way. Now, part of the reason we have too many mats is a number of my dream camps mats are just kind of out and in the way, and my staff love to utilize them year round, but we're going to have to downgrade. We don't actually need 6 folding cheese mats, which is what we have in the gym right now. We don't need 3 resi pits on top of the 3 pits that we have to land into off of our tumble tracks. Like, we have additional just mobile resi pits. We don't need all of the octagons that we have. We can downgrade the amount of equipment that we have in the gym. We can still be very productive in our classes, and it will free up space for us to actually train in, which is ultimately what we're trying to do. So I mentioned that 7-panel floor. Right now, the back half of it, not half, the back quarter of it is just filled with mats, because that's kind of become our storage zone. Because when we built the facility, we were leveraging for space, and we didn't have a plan for storage, and we probably needed a better one because we didn't really have the best plan for storage. And you need to have a place to store your mats, but you need to also make sure that you're spending your money wisely. Now, granted, we had this equipment from before, but more equipment isn't always the answer. You need to make sure that the equipment that you have is bringing high value, and that you have a place to store it, and it's not detracting from value, because you can buy all the mats in the world and then you have nowhere to tumble. So get them right mats, get the mats that are actually going to help your kids progress at the things that you need to progress them with, and you will find a much better return on investment. I know there are an amazing amount of mats out there, and they all look really cool. Whenever I'm buying a piece of equipment, I'm looking at how can this apply to 100 different drills. So I love cheese mats. The folding cheese mats are some of my favorite. I love the T trainer. I love spotting blocks. I love panel mats. I think all of those things are very versatile, and you can do a lot with them. Also, I like to leverage inflatable things. So there are a number of inflatable things, to include inflatable like portable pits that allow you to stack things up higher that are much lighter. I think those are super awesome, very modular. If you need to deflate it for space, you absolutely can. So there's some pretty cool stuff out there. So make sure you're getting the equipment that fits within your space and helps you leverage your space even better. So those are just the 3 thoughts that I had as I was thinking about my space and how to better utilize it. Obviously, the biggest one is choreograph your time in the gym. We have a number of different strategies that you can use to better leverage your class time, which is the ultimately most important thing for you to do to help grow your revenue and grow your enrollment. All right, everyone, I know this was a shorter episode. I still have a ton of work to do. I actually have to go out and build that rod floor little tumbling deck that I need to build. So I have a bunch of things on my docket. I really appreciate you joining me. I appreciate your frequent listenership. We've got more great episodes coming to you, to include some interviews. So if you're a long-time listener and you would like to come on the podcast just to talk about your business, just to talk about how things run in your gym, and you think you would be a good candidate, you don't have to bring anything big in teaching. I just want to interview gym owners and learn how you're doing things in your gym. Then send me an email, dan@nextgenowners.com, with the subject, would love to be on the podcast, and me or my assistant will reach out directly to you to help get you scheduled. Along with, I have my Dream Camp staff in town here in the next week, and I'm going to be doing interviews with them as always. So super excited about that. And I'm doing an in-person interview with Matt Becker coming up here pretty soon as well. We've got a lot of really cool and important things to talk about from the legal standpoint. So if you're loving all these episodes, if you would like to be on the podcast, shoot me an email. Thank you for listening. And with that, we will catch you on the next episode.